Hello, and welcome back to Dr. Freda's Power Session, where we stop performing growth and start living it. I'm Dr. Freda, and this is a space for real conversations about self trust, emotional intelligence, and what it actually takes to lead yourself through life and love. Here, we don't rush healing, we don't sugarcoat truth, and we don't confuse awareness with transformation. Power isn't about having it all together. It's about being honest enough to show up differently for yourself first. Now, every session is an invitation to pause, reflect, and choose alignment over autopilot. Now, let's get into today's power session. This power session is for people who want healthy love but feel suspicious when it shows up. Now, for the ones who say they want consistency, safety, and emotional availability but feel bored, anxious, or underserving when they actually receive it.
Mhm.
Today, I am joined by Dr. Nikia Smith, a physician anesthesiologist by training. Now, after the years of a long journey, she got to the finish line but felt something was missing. Now, she's great in her career and she enjoys some aspects of her job, but there was a void and her soul was not fulfilled. She was forced down a path of self discovery and healing. Now, using books, podcasts, educational lectures, and therapy, Dr. Smith learned that she experienced trauma and didn't even realize it. It just seemed to be part of the job. She felt like if she did more and worked harder, things would get better. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest, Dr. Nikia Smith. How are you, doctor?
Thank you so much for that lovely intro. I am great and I'm just so happy to be here, share whatever I can from my journey, share whatever I learned to our listeners so that they don't have to suffer some of the same things that I've gone through. And we all have a similar journey in life, it seems. No matter where we were raised and how we were raised, a lot of things seem to overlap. And so we hope that just by sharing our story and our lessons that someone can have a little bit of a shortcut or a little bit of a quicker result or quicker healing and recovery than me.
I absolutely concur with that. I always say no one comes out of childhood unscathed, but the trick in life is to empower yourself to see the silver lining or the lessons learned from that or
Mhm.
those situations. So I echo everything you say. So today we're talking about the imposter syndrome in dating and relationships. And when people hear imposter syndrome, they usually think about careers or success, but it
Right.
shows up in relationships more often than none. How do you define imposter syndrome in dating and in love?
And so that's the tough part, right? Imposter syndrome technically has 5 different types. And so I'll go through the types. And so while you may have one type, which I think a lot of us, Black women especially, can identify as having perfectionism, like, yeah, I have
Mm,
that, especially at work, that carries through into our personal life. And there's some ways we can see that. So perfectionism is easy to identify, easy to call out, but there's other types. And so we have the perfectionist, which a lot of women can easily claim. And then we have this one called the natural genius, which some women may not resonate with, but some women might find that they do have it. And the natural genius thinks that they should already know how to do something. And that was me in my Pilates journey, right? I wanted to start Pilates for years, and I didn't go to Pilates because I thought I should already know how to do Pilates. Now,
mm,
how would I know how to do it if I didn't start going there? And we think that's part of the perfectionism ties in there, right? We want to go and be perfect from the beginning, but those are
yes.
the underpinnings. There's also the soloist, and the soloist means not that we like to be alone or that we necessarily want to do things alone, but we think that if we need help or ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. So not only are we going to do it perfectly, and not only should we already know how to do it before we even get started, but we should also do it alone without asking for help. And so it's just like it expands upon each other. And then the fourth one is called the expert, which kind of is in line with the natural genius, where not only do I think I should naturally be able to do it, but I should be an expert at it. And I think that that one comes with a lot of expectations that get put on women, especially externally, to handle things kind of quickly and efficiently. And all of that, when you combine it all together, we have the superwoman, which is the fifth archetype of imposter syndrome, which is I should do it all. It should be perfect. I should do it alone. I should be expert at it. And I should just be amazing all around. And at the end of the day, I won't feel drained. I won't feel the time crunch. I'll still feel great because I'm superwoman. And so, like, it all kind of combines together. I had aspects of every single one of them at different portions of my life and at different, aspects of my life. And so when you kind of just sit back and think about the different ones and kind of examples of it, you can start to see, well, maybe you're a perfectionist at work, you might be a soloist in your personal life, and that would be hard
Mm.
to, make relationships. Or if you present to people as the expert, it might be intimidating. If you're the expert and the perfectionist, and how would that affect relationships? And so it does take some work to kind of like you said, be self-aware and then kind of also realize like it's not insurmountable, but once you know what it is, then you can kind of direct how you wanna move through it.
I love those different archetypes that you went through. And you
Mhm,
said at different phases in your life, you were self-aware and you noticed that you identify with each type in some respect.
mhm.
When did you realize the first type, the genius, for an example? When did you realize I am identifying with this archetype, and where do you think that stemmed from?
I mean, I think the very first archetype that I've ever resonated with was perfectionism.
Mhm.
Because I think that that comes from, like, even, like, in childhood, right? Like, you're not striving to be perfect as a child, but once you do well and get that positive reinforcement of, praise, then it's just like, "Well, if I continue to do well, then I will continue to be praised," or seen as the good daughter, the good sister, the good mother, the good student, and that one kind of carries through. I think I have yet to met a woman that didn't. I have some aspect of perfectionism, like, in her life. And so it's just something that, we embody along the way. Like I said, we don't come through childhood unscathed. There's some
Mhm.
things that kind of ingrain in there. And although they might be positive in some aspects, like your perfectionism and your expert might be really well at projecting you through your career because now you are an expert in whatever field you chose. And because you're a perfectionist, you have a high level and high quality of work that people can respect. But those qualities may be making it hard for you to build deep friendships, deepen relationships at
Mm.
home or even with a significant other because they think that you want everything to be perfect. That means they have to be perfect. When we all know that there is literally no perfect. So it's just this thing you have to kind of rectify with yourself. Like there is no perfect. So you can strive for excellence and you can strive for, to be reliable and all these other things, but you know that, you can't be perfect. And if you are perfect in some things, you can't be perfect in everything.
Agreed, agreed. And you mentioned that it started or you noticed in childhood when you did a great job, you received that praise. And I'm wondering, in your opinion, how does childhood conditioning shape what feels normal in love, that or you're always chasing that level of praise?
And that's such an interesting question. And I mean, definitely childhood conditioning shapes how you are and it shapes how you receive and perceive love, right? Like if you watched a lot of TV shows with like you watch the Cosbys and all this other stuff, you're just like, oh, love is this, right? It's two high achieving workers who are contributing to the household and who mostly get along. And when they disagree, they somehow can figure out a way. But then you might look into your own personal life, your own families, and you're like, that's not really how it is. And so now you're trying to figure out like, is that possible? Is that just like the perfectionism displayed on TV? Like, what should I expect from love and what can I expect? And I think at the end of the day, when you're looking for love, and we talked about like the worthiness part of it, like some of these imposter syndrome things pop up because you might feel not worthy. And so you're earning your worth. Or even if you didn't feel unworthy to begin with, like I didn't feel unworthy as a student, but because I got praise, I started valuing that praise and external validation, and it made me feel worthy. And so even though I never felt unworthy, now my worth is tied to receiving these things, and it just affects everything. And so it is like partially what you perceive, partially what you've gone through, and then how you associate that with your worth and what you deserve and how you feel like you should be loved and be received by others. I think the part of it is that we think we should be received by others in a particular way, but we can't control how they receive us or what we say.
Mhm.
You know, we can't control how they react to us or how they receive us, but we want them to receive us as that perfect person, because that's how we want to be perceived. Almost everyone wants to be perceived as not as perfect, but, as perfect, like, she's nice, she's caring, she's kind, but she's also smart, but she's also a go-getter, she's also this and that. So it's like, we wanna be sassy but nice, and we wanna be assertive but helpful, and we wanna be all of these things, and it's really a hard thing. It's, like, almost impossible thing, I'd say.
I agree. I You said something that's really, really profound that mostly every woman are chasing this archetype of superwoman, for lack of better words, right? And it's so exhausting because you are trying to fulfill the expectation of what you think another person or persons may perceive of you, or what you want them to perceive of you. And I teach my clients, the first thing is, and you said it, you can't change how someone perceive you, but how do you perceive yourself? Because whether someone give you praise or give you criticism, it's all about how you filter it through your world. Because
Right.
we are the main character in all of our worlds, right? We are the main character. Even when we think someone is thinking about us, they're really not. So
They're not. Yeah,
let's
and
be
that's a big
crystal clear.
shift.
That
It's a
is.
really big shift because it goes against everything you were ever taught, to
Yeah.
how you perceive yourself, to value yourself, to say, "I'm innately worthy whether I'm perfect or not, whether I'm a natural."
Yes.
So basically, like, it is a big shift, right? The shift from when you're getting external validation, which is how you were raised, because that's how school works. You do homework, you get a grade. You do this, you get promoted to the next level. Even at work, you have a quarterly review, you get promoted, you get positive enforcement. This is how the entire society works. So you're always seeking external validation. You're always seeking that because that's how we are grown up in this society. And the shift to just say that I'm innately worthy, whether I'm the superwoman, whether I can do it all by myself, whether I can do it all immediately or it takes me time to learn, whether I ask for help every time, no matter what, I'm always worthy. That is a shift. And it's not a shift that happens overnight. You can tell yourself that once, but those thoughts will creep back in because it's always reinforced around you everywhere you go. And even when you're raising kids, right, it's reinforced in how you're raising your kids and how your kids are moving through school and through life. So it's a shift that not only you have to just become aware of, but you have to on a daily basis and sometimes multiple times per day just stop and remind yourself, like, even if I don't say yes to this extra ask at work, I'm still worthy and I'm still a great person, because that's the spiral, right? First you say
Mhm.
no, then you don't feel like, oh, I have to earn their place, I have to earn my thing. And then if you say no, not only do you not feel worthy, but you also feel guilty. So it's like this
Mhm.
double-edged sword. It's like I have to show them that I'm not going to be the woman in the workplace, right? I'm going to be
Mhm.
the one that shows up as much as the men, or shows up and that isn't going to be questioned about, is she all in? And so you're proving your worth because you're already a woman in a system that's not really made for you. And then you have to overcome the guilt that you feel from not always being there for everybody, because we're also taught to be self-sacrificing. Everybody comes before us. We do everything first. And so it's a big jump for women, and it often translates into relationships. And, we
Mhm.
see it all the time because we if we feel like we have to earn our worth and we feel guilty for, prioritizing ourselves, then it's going to be not good for you in a relationship. Even if your partner is supportive and is loving and kind, you're still going to struggle. And so you're going to hope that at least they have open communication and then they're patient as you work through your problems and as they work through theirs.
Yeah. And you made a good point. You said that you have these thoughts and you can say you can move forward, but these thoughts do creep up and they do. And the more you try to push thoughts away, the more they're going to creep in. And so instead of pushing them away, try to question those thoughts. Why are you getting those thoughts and where they're coming from?
Right.
And so, because you're gonna continue to have those thoughts, you have over 100
Mhm.
thoughts a day. You make
So many
decisions all
thoughts.
the time, right? And so when you stop to actually think about where is this belief that's tied to this thought originating from? Is it mine? Is it my parents? Is it society? Is it my perception of what society thinks of me? And I didn't start questioning my thoughts until I was going through my divorce
Mhm.
because that superwoman did show up in every relationship that I had, and those relationships did not blossom into anything. They it wasn't I wasn't fulfilled. They weren't fulfilled, and it ultimately ended in a divorce. And the one changing aspect for me, and it had me thinking, I always thought that I was God's gift to this society. Don't let's just get
I
that
mean, you
twisted,
are.
right? Right.
Black women in general are. We are God's gift.
Exactly.
They are lucky to have us. So that
Exactly.
I'm just going.
Right, right. But it was something in my ego that was shaken when he divorced me. It wasn't me divorcing him. So that was a switch. And when in our relationship, he never complimented me. One of my love languages, words of affirmation. He never
Mhm.
poured into me in that way.
Mhm.
After we divorced, I just had to ask. I said, "Why you never gave me any compliments?"
Mhm.
And so he said the one thing he said, and it changed my whole mindset. That was the
Mhm.
beginning to the end of me doing being this superwoman type of thing. Is
Yeah.
he said, I always knew that you were an amazing woman and gorgeous. I didn't want you to know that, so you would leave me. That
Dang.
right there is what told me. I
I didn't
said,
want you to know that. And I think that that's something that happens a lot. Like they don't
"Of
want us to
course.
know, right? Especially for Black women. We are literally carrying a lot of companies and a lot of systems on our back, but they don't
Mhm,
want us to know how great and powerful we are. And that has
mhm.
definitely been something that has carried through from, I wouldn't say the good old days, but keep them
Of
down.
course."
Don't let them get smarter. Don't let them know. Don't let them be educated. Don't let them. And so, as we have taken upon ourselves to educate ourselves and become the most educated growing most educated demographic,
Mm.
the
Mhm.
growing, new entrepreneurs, new this and new that, and it's definitely striking a chord with people. And it's often like, oh, like, our they think our colleagues are intimidated, but also our partners are intimidated.
Mhm.
And they see the greatness, they're attracted to the greatness, but they also don't want to let you know that your greatness is kind of like outpacing theirs. And that's unfortunate. Like for him to say, I see that you're great and beautiful, but I didn't want you to see that I wasn't worthy of you, basically. Like
Yes.
so I didn't feel worthy of you, so I didn't wanna compliment you so that you knew that I didn't think that I was worthy of you. And I find that that is a common dynamic, especially with high achieving women, especially with high achieving Black women. And it just becomes this thing. And we have to just tell ourselves, I mean, it's tough because not only are we raised and embodied in a self-sacrificial way, but we're also just really, really busy and really,
Yes.
really tired. And so it's
Yeah.
like if you're really, really busy and really, really tired, sometimes you just can't catch all of that stuff that's happening. Like you notice he's not giving you compliments, but you're like too tired to bring it up, maybe, or you're too tired of having the
Mhm.
same discussion over and over, or like maybe am I too much? People always say we're too
Mhm.
much. Am I too much? Like so you those words, those thoughts creep in, but you're not too much and you're worthy of the compliments that you desire in your relationship, or your whatever your not service, but whatever your love language is,
Yes.
whatever it is, if that's a need for you, you're not too much if you ask for the need. And just because you might be a superwoman or perfectionist or expert in other areas doesn't mean that you should not be able to vulnerably communicate to your partner and actually rely on them. Like that is like that's the thing. I'm like, we get into these partnerships, but are we actually relying on them in ways
Mm,
that are insignificant to us?
mhm,
Like like whatever it might be. Like so, I think a lot of women we rely on them for a lot of emotional support, and a lot
mm.
of men are not reliable emotionally to support us. And so it's a really tough situation.
Agree. And you know what, Dr. Nakia? A lot of people, men, and you said it earlier, they want independent women, they want strong women,
Mhm.
and then when they get us, they're like, "Okay, you're too strong." And so I don't know what that means
Yeah.
exactly, but we have to realize, women especially have to realize that when you have someone who's not valuing you, like with my ex-partner, that's a projection from themselves. It has no reflection, and that's what started my healing to realizing,
Mhm.
like, no, I'm not the problem. I mean, the problem in the respect that I need to do my own healing from this
Yes.
situation and everything, but it was never me that caused the divorce in that respect. But it was projection from his insecurity because I wanted something from him that he could not give me. He's a
Yes.
good person, he just wasn't good for me and vice versa. And you said it earlier, women try to go to these partners or form these partners from emotionally unavailable people.
Mhm.
And then they wonder why they're giving more than they're receiving. And it doesn't matter if you're a superwoman or what archetype you identify as. If you are with a partner who don't support you, who doesn't see you, it's not going to work. Period.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Because
it's
you'll
it's
always be
not.
questioning yourself, your worth, everything. And so that just feeds deeper into the imposter syndrome. And all you're gonna do is do more because that's what we do. And then that's only gonna make the gap larger because you're going to be like, well, maybe I should just focus my energy at work or focus my energy into my own healing. And that's not a negative thing, right? But if, like you said, I focus my energy into my own healing, and that made me realize why this wasn't going to work. And so it makes the gap larger unless they're, willing to step up and come along on the healing journey with you, which is not impossible. I've heard of a few instances, but I would rely more heavily on, focusing on yourself, your imposter syndrome, your feelings of worth. Why do you feel like you have to earn your worth or whatever it is that you are having? And then when you get to it, then you can find your own clarity about whether your partner can truly be the partner that you need or not. But I do think that, like you said, we're already tired, we're already exhausted, we're already doing a lot. And so when I work with women, especially this around like kind of reclaiming their time and their energy, and we talk about energy vampires, like a lot of people think it's work, but sometimes really their biggest energy vampire are their relationships, whether it be
Yes.
with their partner or their parents, some
Mhm.
very toxic parental relationships that are very draining.
Mhm.
But like that's part that contributes to it. And so as you're doing your own healing journey and you're like, wow, this is taking a lot of my energy and that energy would be better used on myself.
And you know what? You made just a great point a few minutes ago when you said the different type of draining relationships, whether
Mhm.
it's your parents, a platonic relationship, your professional relationships. How do you think, in your professional opinion, the superwoman who
Mhm.
embodies all of it, high achieving women, why do you think that they continue to nurture those toxic relationships or keep
Well,
attracting it for that
yeah,
matter?
I mean, yeah. So we nurture them. There's this undertone. I don't know what was the book called, but like there was a book and it was talking about how women are, supposed to be kind, and being kind doesn't really get you anywhere. And the difference between being a nice person but being a kind person. And so I think that I forgot what the book was. I think it might have been Lean In, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's a thing like we want to be liked. We want to be a team player. We also have, especially like women are sometimes, perceived to be like a little bit more weak because they say, oh, they're going to work part time, they're going to leave, they're not as devoted as men. And then Black women have the other additional stigma of being titled aggressive or whatever we're getting. So we're not trying to lean into these stereotypes. So because these stereotypes were put on women in general by society, it makes us overcorrect to not be stereotyped. And that is part of the problem. And then the superwoman sometimes is like, well, I don't really want to do this, but I think I can do everything, so I'll say yes. And that's how those relationships stay connected, right? Like if someone that is draining you at work asks you to meet after work, why would you say yes? They already drain you at work. But because you want to be liked and because you're like, well, I have the time and I can do everything, then I should do that. And just because you have the time and you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it. But we're so shrouded in, again, the self sacrifice where it's like, well, maybe I can help them somehow by giving them more of my energy, but they're never repleting your energy. And so these connections are just draining in multiple ways. And so where are you recharging? And that's part, like I said, I do, where are you draining, but also where are you recharging? How are you recharging?
That is a good point because a lot of people, and I was doing a podcast the other week about how to take care of yourself and what self-care looks like, and a lot of people relate only to the external part of self-care,
Right.
getting your nails done, your hair, and that's fine. That could be a part of self-care too, but sustainable self-care goes within,
Yeah.
right? And investing into yourself. That's why I love when I was reading your introduction that you were invested in yourself through podcasts and lectures and books, and
Mhm.
you poured into yourself,
Yeah.
and that's self-care.
Yes, that's the true self-care, and that's what I said. I mean, I don't have any I mean, I like getting my nails done, I get my hair
Yes, me
dyed.
too.
I like that, but it's really aesthetics, and when you look at it, like, when you're truly drained, many women will identify that when they're truly drained and exhausted and maybe burnt out and maybe feeling, a certain way, that even the aesthetics feel heavy, right? They're not restorative. It's another task on your to-do list. It feels like it's a waste of time. It feels like something else that's just like, oh, I have to like go get my nails and that's 2 hours. I could be doing all these other things, right? So when you
Uh-huh.
start having those thoughts, it's just like that's not really self-care anymore, right? Because you're not even looking forward to it. You're not relaxing. Like if you go and get your massage and like relax and truly check out and just enjoy the massage chair, then maybe you are restoring mentally, physically, and like spiritually or emotionally or whatever. But if you go and you're on your computer and you're still answering emails and talking on the phone, it's just aesthetics because you're still not relaxing or restoring. You're just multitasking. And so I agree with you. Like it's more than just that. I mean, I enjoy that. And sometimes if you're feeling a little blah, it does help to, go get zuzzed up. I'm not going to
Yes.
discount that. But like when you're really needing that restoration, you have to go within. You have to. You have to figure out what really restores you. It could be rest. It could be cooking. It could be gardening. It could be dancing. It could be going for a walk. Or like who really restores you because maybe this person, your mom drains you. And so now you have to take a moment and talk to your sister because your sister is the only one that can like feed into you after your mom drains you because she gets it or whatever it is. But you have to keep those things top of mind and keep yourself pushing through and not make everything so hard. And that's the
Mhm.
part, like when you're feeling like the imposter, or you're feeling like everything has to be perfect, or you have to be expert at it. It makes things harder, right? And I just tell my women, life is already hard enough. Take ease and softness where you can get it. Take a restoration where you can get it. Doesn't always have to be hard, and you don't have to make things harder just to make you feel like you earned it or deserved it or whatever that feeling might be.
I like that how you said that when you can pour into yourself, go for a walk, do gardening. It doesn't
Mhm,
have to be something so grandiose, or you don't have to go out and spend $1,000 on
mhm.
something internal. You can just literally do what you love, follow your passion. If you want to dance, go in your living room and dance,
And
and
dance.
that is put on your
Put
favorite
on a
song.
little bit of Beyonce and make you feel all right, okay? You'll start feeling like a
Exactly.
brand new person.
Exactly. And I think that women in general feel like that they don't have the time or maybe the resources or the mental capacity to pour into themselves. But just like you said, It could be something as going for a walk or walking outside in your backyard, just getting grounded, or singing a song, painting a picture, something that disconnect you from being available to other people, to
Mhm.
fixing something, being solution based, having to have it all together. This
Right.
is something that's specifically just for you and pouring back into you. Because what women don't realize, when we just continue to give and give and give, after a while, that cup is going to run empty. And it's
Mhm.
nothing that is not much you can give. And then that's
Mm,
when the attitudes come in and the bickering, and because you're tired. You're mentally, emotionally, and physically tired.
yeah. And that's it. It's really what it is. It's like you can't have good relationships with people if you are already running on E because you're not even like in tune with yourself, like you can't communicate effectively. You're not even thinking straight. So it's just like you have to stop and allow yourself time to restore, disconnect, see what you truly need. And then after that, you can see if you can truly help communicate or be there for another person. But there's only so much you can give, and at the end of that, we're looking at some negative things happening for you personally, your health, your communication, your relationships, the irritability, the annoyance, the bickering, all of that stuff. It's not good for anybody.
No. And you said earlier too about how we show up for people, especially in our relationships. And then we do have somewhat an imposter syndrome. Um, whether we agree with or we identify with each of the archetypes that you went through.
Mhm.
And we said earlier too that that's connected to it could be connected to your self-worth or how you perceive yourself, because you want to be perceived in a positive way. But in your opinion, how does self-worth or the lack thereof
Mhm.
can impact how we feel comfortable being loved by? Because a lot of women
Yeah.
want to be loved, want a romantic relationship, a healthy romantic relationship,
Right.
but I often see that these women, they want it, but they still have uncomfortable feeling around being loved. How do you think
Yeah.
self-worth and an imposter syndrome plays into that?
So I think like when you start developing your self-worth skill, and I'll say that as like you develop it as a skill, you innately have the worth. So don't get me wrong, you innately have the worth, but becoming aware of it and empowered of it and reminding yourself of it is a skill. And as you practice it, then you start to truly see your worth, but when you see your worth you see your value, and when you see your value you can love yourself. And I think that's the problem, is that the correlation between self-worth and self-love is not always seen clearly or understood. But we all know this, right? If you don't love yourself, how can you expect someone else to love you? So if you don't think that you're worthy, how can you expect for them to see your worth? And that's when you get into the relationships, because I don't think I'm worthy of love, or of good love, or of supportive and sustainable and reciprocal love. I only think I'm worthy of struggle love because that's all I've ever seen. And that's all that Black women are portrayed of having on TV. So if you change your skill with self-worth and then you deepen that self-love, then when you love yourself how you're supposed to be loved, people can love you how you're supposed to be loved. And because we all, like I said, we all receive love differently. So you
Mhm.
have to know how you want to be loved and what's important to you. And you have to be able to communicate it with somebody, and you have to be able to see if they are willing to give it to you. But if you don't even know how you need to be loved to feel loved, then how can you expect anybody else to know? They're going to just give you what they've seen or what they've experienced. And then it becomes whatever they feel like giving you, but not however you feel like receiving. When you talk about the love languages, right? Like, I
Mhm.
would like acts of service, you would like words of affirmation. But if all I do is give you acts of service and all you do is give me words of affirmation, we're not going to be successful, because that's not what I want.
Mhm.
Right? I have to give you words of affirmation, but you have to give me acts of service. And I have to know that's what I want and say it. And you have to be receiving of that. And so it's like this whole thing. But when I know that I'm worthy of these words, or worthy of these acts, or worthy of this quality time, or worthy of love, how I would receive it best. and I actually know what that means to me, then I could communicate it and I could seek that out, you know? You're always getting what you ask for. I don't know if people, if, you know, if your clients believe in manifestation. I believe
Mhm,
heavily in manifestation and heavily in prayer. And I do believe that they are
mhm.
very aligned. You're praying and you're manifesting what you want. But if you don't ask for the right thing, then you're not going to get it.
I agree.
It's like you have
Yes,
to ask for the right, correct thing.
I agree. People manifesting every day, all day. Now, you might be manifesting what you don't want,
Yeah.
but you're manifesting. We
Something.
have that
Exactly.
innate ability, but, you know, you have to, like you say, to thy own self be true. You have to understand and know yourself so you can teach people how to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
But that sits with self, and a lot of people jump from relationship to relationship without developing their self
Self.
relationship
Mm-hmm.
first. And you're gonna continue to repeat these same cycles until you know yourself. And you made a great point where if you are the acts of service and I'm the just the quality, let's say quality time. If I'm giving you how I want to receive it and mine is totally different, we're talking two different languages. You're talking Spanish and I'm talking Mandarin. We're not saying the same. We're saying the same thing, but it's different. We're not gonna understand each other, and it's not. And then we go into this pattern of, well, he doesn't see me, he doesn't love me, and he's thinking, well, I'm doing what I can,
Okay. Yeah.
and but again, as that superwoman, we do want to come off as we have it all together. We want to be seen as strong, and vulnerability is scary. But with the right person, you can open up yourself to be vulnerable because that's a form of intimacy in itself. And so I just feel that a lot of women say they want things, and it's almost hard to have it both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Either you're gonna be true to yourself and know thyself and show the world who you truly are, and that is the tiredness, but you can still be strong, and the silliness, but you can be serious because we're all so many. There's so many different facets of
Yeah.
our personalities. But if you continue to live in this imposter syndrome, you're gonna continue to get an imposter lifestyle.
Yeah.
And
Oof. Say that again, honey. Say that one more time for them in the back. Okay.
so you you have to be completely transparent with yourself first, so you can manifest and attract the things that you really want. And so sometimes when we pray, honestly, we it doesn't come to us when we need it because we know that we're not ready for it to receive it.
Mhm.
So work on self first, and you're gonna start to seeing like a domino effect. Your external is going to reflect your internal. But in your opinion, Dr. Nakia, how can people, women specifically, begin to receive or start that journey of self awareness so they don't continue to self sabotage their
Yeah. So the self awareness is tough, right? Because it really begins with curiosity. You have to be
Mm.
like, you have to listen to this podcast and be like, you know, I didn't resonate with everything, but like one thing kind of stuck out. So don't throw the whole podcast away, right? Be like, I'm curious about that one thing. Maybe I should just Google that word or that phrase, or, you know, maybe I should learn more about imposter syndrome or self worth, or like maybe just learning about, you know, society's expectation on women and maybe how that affected me, because you may not have even thought about that. So the self-awareness part is like when something does strike you, you have to get curious about it. If you just continue to ignore, then you're going to continue to be living unaware and or vaguely aware or intentionally, like, you know, intentionally unaware. So that's the part. Just get really curious. But I always say it to people, get curious about yourself. Like you are the only one that can know everything about yourself. Your parents don't know everything. Your friends don't know everything. Only you and God know everything about yourself. And so if something about your own self feels confusing, get curious. That's it. Like, why am I thinking that? Why did I say that? Like, why did I say yes when I wanted to say no? Why did I, you know, forgive him when I knew that that was unacceptable? Why did I, you know, agree to work extra when I didn't want to or I had plans already? Just get curious. Get curious about yourself.
I Absolutely love that because people say that things happen to them and is really happening for them, but
Mhm.
they never stop and slow down to question
Mhm.
why.
Life.
They just continue to go on. This relationship didn't work. Well, okay. Or this job didn't work out. Okay, well, we gotta go find another one. Can we just pause and reflect on why are these patterns continue to show up in my life? Why I continue to have this response to a certain situation? Why is this triggering me? A trigger is something is just unresolved trauma. Why is this triggering me? I need to I need to be curious, and I love that word, curious. And so, before we wrap up, because we're coming up on our time, what would you say to someone who wants love, living in their imposter syndrome, but they want love, but they're so afraid of it and they don't trust it?
I mean, love is a really big ask, pretty much the most vulnerable that you'll ever be. So, it is okay to not trust it in if you're living with imposter syndrome, because if you're living with imposter syndrome, you don't necessarily trust yourself, right? So if you don't
Mm,
trust yourself wholly, then how can you trust someone else? So
mm,
what I would say to them is if you are living like most people have some trust issues, some self-trust issues, and you can't truly love someone and trust them if you don't trust yourself. So I would again tell them to get curious about themselves. I'm sure that there's plenty of evidence. We always say that to combat imposter syndrome, there's plenty of evidence. There's evidence that you're great at work. There's evidence that being perfect wasn't required. There's evidence that asking for help wasn't the end of the world. There's a lot of evidence around you, but there's evidence of times when you trusted yourself, trusted your gut, your instincts, made a decision, and it was positive. And there's mostly with most people, but most people, those decisions are mostly positive, right? You made a decision and you decided to go to school or you decided to move or whatever. Like those usually are positive in your life because you know what you need for yourself or what you want for yourself. So just get the evidence that you are trustworthy. And if you can trust yourself, other people can trust you. If you can love yourself, other people can love you. And I know this is like a bit like weird, but like it's easier to love someone when they love you, right?
mm. No, that's true.
So, um, you may not trust love, but when you love yourself and you can see that you're worthy of love and someone else loves you, you can trust that.
I love that. Dr. Nakia, how can we work with you? I know I have it in the show notes, but
Mhm.
do you see clients
Yeah.
worldwide, nationwide, Zoom? How can we work with you?
Yes, I work with women, especially high achieving women of color who want to reclaim their time and energy and peace. I work with them on Zoom so we can work anywhere in the world that you would like to work with me. And I just kind of work with you through my framework and get through those energy vampires. Where can you release? Where can you receive? How can you redefine success and realign your decision making with what your new success is? And I love working with women because I think that guys, especially Black women, I do think that women are the ish and Black women are the super ish. So we cannot keep living this life where we're so exhausted and drained and not truly thriving. We're living in survival mode, and I don't want that for us.
Dr. Nakia, thank you.
It was so great to be here with you. I'm happy we got to do this.
Yes, likewise. And for the listeners who are realizing, "Oh, I might be doing this, where do they start?" And I always tell everyone, everyone needs a toolbox. A toolbox will have your books, your coaches, your therapists, your lectures, even that social media post that comes right when you
Mhm.
need it, when life is lifing. But you
Yes.
want to always have something that you can reach back in and grab when everything is happening for you. We have people like Dr. Nikia Smith who will help high achieving women, especially women of color, to remember their own superpower. You don't have to pretend something that you really already are. So, and I love when she said redefining success because success is so subjective to everyone. And if you're listening and if you ever felt unworthy of love that feels safe, consistent, and emotionally available, nothing is wrong with you. You're not broken. You are becoming aware. And so again, Dr. Nakia, thank you for this conversation, for naming what so many people feel but don't know how to articulate it. And if this episode resonates with anyone, journal it. Journal your feelings. Dr. Nakia said it earlier. Be curious. Journal your feelings and let that curiosity lead you down that rabbit hole. Don't rush it. Don't rush to fix it. Healthy love doesn't require you to audition. It asks you to arrive and just be present. So, again, thank you. I'm Dr. Freda, and I will see you all next week.